Welcome back. I'm Mr. Nemitz with Mr. Stillann's Government class. This is the fourth and final video in the Chief Executive Lecture. We will be speaking about the Executive Office of the President. So the Executive Office of the President is supervised by the White House Chief of Staff. This office has become the President's closest group of advisors. The Executive Office of the President gathers information, develops policy, and advises the President. Most of the staff gain their position because they are political supporters of the President's policies. It's comprised mainly of highly technical and professional personnel, a lot of lawyers, doctors, things like that. There's about 1,500 full-time employees. Most work within the West Wing. There are 11 entities that exist under the Executive Office of the President, and there are under the White House office. There are many other entities. Some of them include Domestic Policy Council, which deals with the president's domestic policies. Like the economy, things like that. The National Economic Council, which deals with the economy or advises the president on the economy. The Office of the Press Secretary, which speaks with the media. And the Office of the First Lady, which obviously deals with the First Lady's policies and agendas. So a little bit of the history on the Executive Office of the President. The Reorganization Act of 1939, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president at the time. He convinced Congress to pass many federal programs to deal with the Great Depression. This expanded the federal government rapidly. Roosevelt found that he and his few assistants could not coordinate all of the programs or gather all the info that they needed to make decisions quickly and effectively. So they created the Executive Office of the President and established the White House office as well. It's a smaller group of advisors who work on the day-to-day matters with the President. Many federal programs require several executive departments to work together. The Executive Office of the President coordinates these efforts. Example would be President Reagan created the National Drug Control Policy in 1988. The Executive Office of the President coordinated over 50 federal agencies to fight the war on drugs. So, as you can probably imagine, that would be very difficult to do unless you had one central agency that kind of dealt with everything and got everyone coordinated. So, a few of the oldest agencies in the Executive Office of the President have played the greatest role in the presidential decision making. The Office of Management and Budget is the largest office in the Executive Office of the President. It prepares national budgets for the President, who presents them to Congress, which reflects spending priorities of the administration. And influence over the budget is one way the President can influence governmental policy. The next is the National Security Council. They advise the President on and coordinate American military and foreign policy. They also coordinate government planning and response to domestic terrorism and catastrophes. And the power has greatly increased since September 11th. The Council on Economic Advisors. Since the Great Depression, the President has been the chief economic planner who formulates the nation's economic policies. I don't know if you remember a few days back when we talked about the powers of the presidency of the executive branch. They actually provide the budget for Congress to approve. And so the Council of Economic Advisors is composed of 3 members who are confirmed by the Senate. Mainly they're economists, statisticians, and research analysts. The number and size of the Executive Office of the President's entities can vary widely due to the President having different priorities. So some administrations have large offices, some have less. The White House office, key advisors and assistants that gather information and advise the president about policy and political strategies. They communicate on the behalf of the president and they run the day-to-day operations of the White House. Most staff chosen most staff's chosen without Senate confirmation. They're considered the president's inner circle. They're the closest to the president, especially the White House chief of staff, the most trusted advisor. They oversee the White House operations and they regulate access to the president. The White House counsel is the president's lawyer, and the Office of Communications includes the press secretary, speechwriters, press liaisons. They handle relations with the press. They set up press conferences and they issue public statements on the behalf of the president. And then finally, we'll talk about executive privilege. Basically, what executive privilege is presidents don't want information from their advisors to become public while they're still deciding policies. Obviously, that could influence quite a few things before they've kind of made their mind up or set anything in stone. This is used to keep sensitive information confidential. The president can refuse to provide documents to or other records to legislative or judicial branches. It's not a constitutional right, but it does fall under the separation of powers. Courts have ruled that presidents have some right to executive privilege, but this right is not absolute. So, which means they don't always have it. So they can't just pick anything they want. One example would be when President Obama and the FBI sold weapons to the Mexican government to try to arrest drug cartels when these weapons were going to be used. They lost track of these weapons, and the Obama presidency tried to not turn over documents from the FBI saying that they knew they had lost these weapons, and it turned into a big deal for the president, and the courts decided that that was not executive privilege. Thank you very much.